Hi everybody. I'm sharing my story with you today and hope I can warn as many people as I can. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Joshua. I live alone. I have no children. I have no girlfriend, and if I'm being completely honest with you, I have no friends. I work at a catering factory. The job involves working long hours, which is as to be expected with factory work. But it does have its perks, involving long holidays if you saved your holidays up, of course. Also, the job includes a very nifty pension. I often saved my holidays up, so at the end of the year I would take a couple of months off work with pay, of course, but this year I would learn being alone wasn't all what it's cracked up to be. I booked my holiday in advance a few weeks back, and before you know it was December again and I was off to the airport. This year I decided to go to Sweden. It's undoubtedly expensive, but I had heard Sweden has some of the best ski resorts in the world. I've always loved skiing and I am a winter sort of person anyway, so it just made sense for me to go. So after going through customs, I was finally sat on the plane when a woman sat next to me in her designated seat. I said hello to her as she looked at me and politely smiled back at me. So just under 9 hours later, traveling from America, I had finally arrived in Sweden. I was very excited, but at the same time I felt tired and I also had jet lag. So the first thing I did was go to my room at the resort. It was all inclusive, so the food and drinks plus my room was already paid for. So greeting the receptionist in the lobby, I took the elevator up to my room. I unpacked my bags and laid on the bed. I must have been tired because when I woke up it was morning. The first thing I did was look out the window overlooking the resort, and it was beautiful. The sun was shining onto the snow below and there was fellow skiers everywhere I looked. I smiled to myself. Talking to myself, I said, "This was worth the long flight over here." Excited, I wasted no time in getting ready and getting out there. I skipped breakfast and made it down to the lobby. I've always loved skiing, so of course I already had all my gear and didn't have to buy or rent anything. My gear consisted of long underwear, a light fleece, a pair of snowboarding socks, a ski jacket along with some ski pants, a pair of gloves, and finally a helmet with built-in goggles. So ready to go, I made my way towards the chairlift. For those of you who are not familiar with a chairlift, they have them in most ski resorts. It's basically a lot of seats hanging from a cable which is held in the air by pylons. The chairlift allows skiers to ascend up the mountain to the top of the pistes. So I walked to the chairlift and I immediately recognized the woman that I was sat next to on the plane. She appeared to be alone. I remembered her because she had smiled at me on the plane. Without hesitation, using a hand gesture, she quickly waved me to come sit next to her on the chairlift. So we began ascending up the slopes, and before you knew it we was at the top of the mountain. I think me and the woman had sort of an unwritten bond. Because even though we didn't even talk much or tell each other our names, we both stayed close to each other as we both skied down the slopes. We were laughing as we gave way to people skiing in front of us. We repeated the process all day as we watched the day turn quickly into night. I think we both was lonely because we didn't leave each other's side all day. We then sat down as we watched the remaining skiers making their last ascents. We finally had a bit of downtime together, so we began talking. It was the first time I had heard her voice. She was Swedish, but she spoke really good English. I asked her what her name was. She told me her name was complicated, but I can just call her Rita. "Okay, sure," I said. I told her my name and she said it was nice spending time with someone who was so nice for a change. Rita then thanked me for a wonderful day and told me she was going to make her way back to her room. I waved goodbye to Rita and stayed sitting on the bench. So after skipping breakfast and not eating all day, hunger began to strike. I had noticed earlier in the day there was a little restaurant at the side of the slopes. The restaurant was called Max Ski. It was basically a little drive-through McDonald's for skiers. You couldn't go inside. It was just like every other McDonald's drive-through, but instead of cars it was for skiers. So I guess you could call it a ski-through. It was ideal because it meant you never had to take any of your ski equipment off. Anyway, I made my way over to Max Skis. I was waiting behind another fellow skier in the queue when I noticed through one of the side windows somebody was staring at me. It was a man. I looked away from the window thinking if I did he would look away. I glanced back at the woman serving the skier in front and noticed at the corner of my eye he was still looking at me. The man then moved closer to the woman who was serving and whispered in her ear. I'm not going to lie, he made me feel paranoid. But at this point I was just really hungry. The woman then finished serving the skier in front and it was finally my turn to order. So I pulled myself close to the window using my paws. What the woman said next highly annoyed me. She told me that she has ran out of cooked food and if I could go up the slopes one more time my food would be ready by the time I got back. Okay, I guess, I said. There wasn't long left until the slopes would close for the night, so I thought it would be a great opportunity for one last descent down the slopes. So once at the top again I eagerly twisted my way back to the bottom. I was now looking forward to tucking into a max skis. So I skied over to the ski-through and pulled myself over to the window. To my delight my food was already bagged up ready for me to take. Thank you, I said. The woman who served me told me to enjoy my meal and that she was sorry for my weight. Smiling at her with my meal in my hand I decided to sit down to eat my food on a nearby bench. Now really dark, no one else was allowed to go skiing until the morning as I watched them put the signs out telling people the slopes were closed. So I told myself I would eat my max skis and make my way to my room and get some sleep. Halfway through my meal I began feeling really tired and drowsy. I was out for the count. I was woken up by the sound of a fan spinning around in a dark room. I couldn't move my hands or my feet. Where am I? What's going on? I'm so dizzy, I spoke out loudly. Not knowing what was happening I shouted. Anybody there, please someone help me. All of a sudden I heard people speaking followed by a door slamming shut. Hey, who's there? I shouted again. I then heard another door open in the room I was in. I couldn't see anything, all I knew was I was in some sort of dark room and there was a fan spinning around. The lights then switched on and what I saw next scared the life out of me. Stood in front of me was the man that was staring at me through the window of max skis. I could now see that my hands and feet were tied to the chair with some blue rope. I nervously began speaking to the man. You, I said to him. Who are you and what do you want from me? The man looked at me. What he said next took me by total surprise. He told me that they were heart donors and they collect the hearts of the tourist people who come here on holiday by themselves. He said we get paid for it, of course. Wait, I said to him, I'm not alone. He looked at me with a big smile and said, she's already confirmed you are alone. She, I replied. Yeah, the woman who was sat next to you on the plane. You see, she lures people who are alone and guides them here. Not everyone comes to max skis. So in a way that's like our chance we give you to escape and not be our next victim. But most people who are alone and hungry end up here. So we're not short of heart donors. I was freaking out and shouted at the man, you won't get away with this. The door all of a sudden swung open and the woman I had spent the whole day with and sat next to on the plane walked in. It was Rita. I shouted at her. We spent all day together, why would you do this? You won't get away with this. Rita started to laugh and said, we already have gotten away with this. Even law enforcement are involved in it. She then said to me that when I was asked to go up the slopes again while my food was being prepared, they was discussing if I was alone or not. So they knew whether to apply the drugs to the food. I told Rita somebody from my country will come looking for me. She laughed. Like I said, the law enforcement around here are involved with us. And if anybody from your country come here looking for you, then we will simply offer them some food. We all know what happens to them after that. I asked them, where am I? You are in the back of Ski Max. Rita and the man both then left me alone in the room. I knew I didn't have much time. Thinking to myself, now what do I do? They're going to take my heart. I didn't notice it at first, but with the lights still on I could see a little window in the corner of the room. If I could just get out of this rope. Oh yeah. I remembered I had a hook on my pants that I used to hang my gloves on. And if I could move my leg a bit I could use it to pull the rope from my hands. I paused for a second thinking I heard one of them coming back. Luckily it wasn't them. So I quickly tried to lift my leg up so I could catch the rope with my hook. It took a few tries but I managed to get the hook around the rope and I began yanking on the rope. Eventually the rope gave way and my hands was now free. I quickly untied my feet and ran towards the little window in the corner. It was locked. The thing is, I couldn't go through the restaurant because I didn't know how many of them there was. So I picked up the chair I was tied to and smashed it through the window. Wasting no time, I climbed out of it and began running away. I looked back at the window and I could see them all climbing out of the window, and some of them were coming from wherever the exit door was. I ran as fast as I could to the lobby. I remembered Rita telling me they was all involved in it. So I took the stairs up to my room, grabbed my passport and wallet and left whatever clothes I had unpacked there. I made my way to the airport in disbelief from what had happened. I thought about it all on the plane on the way home, and I just couldn't work out. If they wanted my heart, then why did they leave me so long alone? It all just seemed too easy. I arrived home today. You would think being back in America I would feel safe. But when I got back to my house, I opened the front door and was met by about 20 different letters. I looked through my mail to see if there were any bills that needed taking care of. When I saw a bright yellow menu with the words Max Skis across it, I was in shock. In America there aren't any Max Skis. I quickly turned the menu over to the other side. Somebody had written something on it. I told you, Joshua. Everybody isn't on it. Even the receptionist. Who do you think? Let us in your room. How do you think we know where you live? We haven't forgotten about you. You owe us a heart. Signed, Rita. I was in shock. So this is my warning to anybody listening. McDonald's operates more than 36,000 restaurants around the world. Just don't ever go to a Max Skis by yourself.